1940s by Abner Jackson, for whom the lake and the later city is named after. It was a sugar and cotton plantation. Abner Jackson was the second largest slaveholder in the state, with over 300 enslaved people working at this plantation, and also the Retrieve and Darrington plantations in Brazoria County. We have some artifacts from the site over there as well as archaeological artifacts that were excavated in the 1990s, including beads, buttons, ceramics, lots of cool stuff. And over here to our left is exhibit all about the beginnings of Lake Jackson as we know it today. So after the plantation ceased to operate after the Civil War, the land passed through multiple hands for the next 50 years, eventually used more for cattle grazing instead of sugar and cotton. But then in the late 1930s, early 1940s, the Dow Chemical Company from Midland, Michigan came and bought this land to be a company town for workers who were going to work in the new Freeport plant, which they built to extract magnesium from seawater. They were the first people to kind of pioneer that process. And so everything over there is about the early years of Lake Jackson, the first businesses that sprang up, as well as Alden B. Dow, who you see sitting there. He will move and talk to you, so don't be frightened when he does. Lake Jackson is one of the few cities in the United States that was planned by an architect rather than a city scientist named Leo and Fairfax Windecker collaborated with that people to create it. Only a very few number were produced, and as far as I know, only 2 remain on display. We have.
Oh, wow. So keep more of us what's ahead point. Hardened clay, reason for cracking the balls of clay. In balls of clay, they indicate a few. Oh, they put these were the ball of clay. They found them.
This is a Karankawan Indian sculpture. The old spinning wheel.
I'd like to talk to you about building a new town called Lake Jackson. I was the primary architect, and we, my firm Alden B. Dow Incorporated, took some unusual and innovative approaches to building this new town. It all began in 1941 when I came to Freeport, Texas, to design a hotel and some executive housing for Dow Chemical. Later that year, my whole family moved to Freeport after we realized I'd be in this area for an extended time. We had had our 3rd child in March, and it wasn't easy to communicate long distance in those days. We'd just completed our new home in Michigan, so it was hard to leave there for months at a time. Most of the Dow Chemical Company's production in Freeport was going into the war effort.
Well, I'm back, and I want to tell you about a boomtown called Camp Chemical. The 2 large trailer parks were not keeping pace with the housing needs, so I went to Washington and told the War Production Board, our plants are scheduled to produce magnesium, raw materials for synthetic rubber, fuel additives, smoke screen chemicals, antifreeze, and other desperately needed war materials. To deliver these products on the almost impossible schedule, we must act fast to provide these. A bit short of the Taj Mahal quality, but served the purpose very well. The workers were happy to have a place with a roof over their head. After the war, I received approval from Washington to demolish all of Camp Chemical.
collections that are not necessarily on display at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But we try to change things up.
Okay, I see what you mean, because you can't see everything at one time.
Can I answer any questions for you, sir?
Where did she perform?
At, you know, at Alameda Mall, the end what was Penny's, that building right out there,
Oh, I didn't know there was a theater or anything.
it was, on the horse and cattle ranch was his, yep. He liked his horses. He was great.